What happens when a simple act of love becomes a deadly provocation? How does a symbol of inclusion spark such unimaginable hatred? In a small California town, Ann Carleton hung a pride flag outside her store, a quiet yet powerful statement of her unwavering support for equality. But behind the serene backdrop of Cedar Glen, darkness was brewing. A man, fueled by bigotry and rage, confronted Laura in what should have been a mundane day at her boutique. That confrontation spiraled into a moment of unthinkable violence, leaving a community reeling. As the town mourns, one question lingers in the air. How did an act of kindness and inclusivity lead to such a horrific outcome? And could it happen again in another town to someone else who dares to stand for love? Welcome to True Crime Acts, where we look into the hidden truths behind some of the most chilling real-life events. Our mission is to uncover the stories that shock, educate, and spark change, reminding us that behind every headline is a victim, a family, and a ripple effect felt by an entire community. If you find this journey as important as we do, don't forget to like, subscribe, and click the notification bell to ensure you never miss another gripping exploration into the depths of human behavior. In the heart of Cedar Glen, California, Ann Carleton was more than just a boutique owner. She was a pillar of her community. Her store, Magpie, was a place where people gathered not just to shop, but to connect. Laura's welcoming spirit and inclusive beliefs were evident in everything she did, most notably in the pride flag she hung outside her boutique. To those who knew her, Laura was a friend, a confidant, and a fierce advocate for equality. She wasn't loud or brash about her beliefs. Her actions spoke for themselves. The pride flag wasn't just a decoration, it was a message of love and acceptance. But in a world where symbols carry immense weight, that flag became more than just a statement. It became a target. The town itself was quiet, unassuming, a place where life moved at a slower pace. But like many small communities, Cedar Glen wasn't immune to division. Not everyone shared Laura's open-minded values. Some whispered discontent about the flag, while others admired her courage. And yet, despite the subtle tension, Laura stood firm, believing that love was always worth fighting for. She often spoke of her belief in humanity's goodness, confident that kindness could outweigh ignorance. But could one person's quiet bravery truly withstand the weight of unchecked hatred? How does a small-town gesture of inclusivity ignite a spark so deadly it consumes the very heart of the community? The pride flag outside Magpie was vibrant, its colors a beacon of hope and solidarity for those in Cedar Glen who may have felt unseen or unheard. Laura believed in its significance. For her, it wasn't just a flag, it was a lifeline for anyone searching for acceptance. But not everyone saw it that way. For some, the flag was a provocation, a challenge to their worldview. The tensions simmered quietly, a subtle undercurrent in an otherwise peaceful town. Laura knew that her decision to display the flag wasn't universally supported, but she stood by it, believing that fostering love was more important than appeasing ignorance. In conversations with customers, Laura spoke openly about why the flag mattered. Everyone deserves to feel welcome, she would say. Her words carried weight, inspiring many who walked through her doors. But as her advocacy grew, so did the animosity. Rumors began to spread about the controversial flag, whispers that painted Laura not as a hero, but as someone pushing an agenda. The tension was palpable, though few could have predicted just how far one man's hatred would go. Could a community that prided itself on its small-town charm truly embrace the symbol of inclusion Laura so firmly believed in? Or was the divide between love and hate always destined to explode into tragedy? The man who would later take Laura's life had lived in Cedar Glen for years, but few knew much about him. He kept to himself, an unassuming figure in the background of community life. Yet beneath his quiet exterior, a storm brewed. He noticed the pride flag almost immediately. To him, it wasn't a symbol of love. It was a challenge. His beliefs, shaped by years of ingrained prejudice, saw the flag as a threat to the world he thought he knew. At first, his disdain was confined to muttered complaints and sharp glances as he passed the store. But over time, his thoughts grew darker. The flag, the woman who displayed it, it all became an obsession. Laura, ever kind, likely didn't notice the danger lurking just beneath the surface. She greeted everyone with the same warmth, unaware that one customer's smile masked something far more sinister. Could the signs have been spotted earlier? Could anyone have intervened before his hatred turned deadly? Or was the tragedy inevitable, fueled by a society where small gestures of inclusion are met with disproportionate hostility? The day began like any other. Laura opened Magpie with her usual routine, arranging displays and greeting customers as they wandered in. The pride flag fluttered in the breeze, a quiet declaration of her beliefs. Midway through the day, he entered the store. The atmosphere shifted instantly. Regular customers felt the tension as his voice rose, accusing Laura of pushing an agenda. She stood firm, her tone calm yet unwavering. The confrontation escalated. Witnesses later described his anger as unhinged, his words laced with venom. Yet Laura didn't back down. She refused to let hate dictate her actions. But hate, once ignited, can be blinding. In a moment of unimaginable violence, he pulled a gun, shattering the calm of the store and the lives of everyone who knew Laura. How does a single act of hatred ripple through an entire community? And could Laura's bravery in the face of such hostility ever be forgotten? As news of Laura's murder spread, Cedar Glen was plunged into grief. Her death wasn't just the loss of a beloved store owner. It was a wound that cut deeply into the fabric of the community. People gathered outside Magpie, leaving flowers, candles, and handwritten notes beneath the flagpole where the pride flag once flew. Neighbors, friends, and even strangers came together to honor her legacy. Tearful tributes painted Laura as a woman who fought for what was right, no matter the cost. She believed in everyone's right to be who they are, one neighbor said, their voice cracking with emotion. The boutique, once a place of joy and connection, now stood as a somber reminder of the hatred that had invaded their peaceful town. Customers who had shopped there days before now left in silence, their hands clasped tightly in mourning. But amid the sorrow, anger brewed. How could such a senseless act happen in their community? Why did hatred claim the life of someone who gave so much love? These questions haunted Cedar Glen, sparking debates about the growing dangers faced by LGBTQ+ allies and advocates. Would this tragedy finally force society to confront the cost of hate? Or would Laura's story become another forgotten headline in the battle for equality? Law enforcement quickly identified the shooter, tracing his escape route through witness testimonies and security footage. The manhunt that followed was swift but tense. With officers aware they were pursuing an armed and dangerous individual, the suspect was eventually located in a nearby wooded area where he had fled after abandoning his car. A tense standoff ensued as police attempted to negotiate his surrender. But the suspect, defiant until the end, refused to cooperate. When he raised his weapon toward the officers, they were left with no choice. Gunfire echoed through the trees, ending the standoff and the life of a man consumed by hatred. The resolution brought mixed emotions, relief that the threat was neutralized, but heartbreak that it had come to this. Many in Cedar Glen wondered if the cycle of violence could ever truly be broken. Could justice ever feel complete when it came at the cost of so many lives and so much grief? Laura's murder sent shockwaves far beyond Cedar Glen. Advocacy groups rallied to draw attention to the increasing dangers faced by LGBTQ+ individuals and their allies. Vigils were held across the state, with thousands holding candles in solidarity. Social media erupted with tributes to Laura, her name trending as people shared stories of her bravery and the importance of standing against hate. Hashtags like Justice for Laura and Love Over Hate flooded timelines, creating a digital tapestry of grief and activism. But alongside the tributes, debates ignited. Some argued that symbols like the pride flag shouldn't provoke such violent reactions, while others questioned how society could better address the root causes of prejudice. The incident became a flashpoint for conversations about the intersection of free expression and safety. Would Laura's death become a turning point in the fight against hate? Or would her story fade into the background of an ongoing struggle for equality? Laura's murder was not an isolated incident. It became part of a grim pattern of violence targeting LGBTQ+ individuals and their allies. Advocacy organizations highlighted the rising numbers of hate crimes, showing that such tragedies were rooted in long-standing prejudice and fear. The pride flag, meant to symbolize inclusion and acceptance, had often been at the center of these violent outbursts. While it stood as a beacon of hope for many, for others, it ignited anger born from ignorance and intolerance. Laura's decision to display the flag was both an act of courage and a challenge to those who opposed progress. Experts weighed in on how such hatred festers. These acts of violence are not random, one psychologist explained. They are the result of societal messaging that dehumanizes entire groups of people. As the world mourned Laura, many asked themselves if enough was being done to counter these harmful narratives. Could more education, awareness, and advocacy have prevented this tragedy? Or is society too slow to evolve in the face of such deep-seated hatred? In the wake of Laura's death, her family and friends vowed to keep her legacy alive. They organized events to celebrate her life and the values she stood for, ensuring that her story would inspire others to fight for inclusivity. Her boutique, Magdot Pie, became a symbol of resilience. Though the store temporarily closed after the tragedy, plans were set in motion to reopen it as a space dedicated to fostering dialogue and unity. Laura would have wanted us to continue her work, her daughter said during an emotional interview. The community also rallied to raise funds for scholarships in Laura's name, supporting LGBTQ+ youth who faced adversity. Her family hoped that these efforts would transform the pain of her loss into a beacon of hope for others. But as her loved ones worked to honor her memory, one question persisted. How can society ensure that acts of hate like this never happen again? And what role must each of us play in creating a world where love truly triumphs over hate? The tragedy in Cedar Glen forced a reckoning, not just in the small California town, but across the nation. Communities began to question how they could better protect those who dared to stand for love and acceptance. For advocacy groups, Laura's murder became a rallying cry. They called for stronger laws against hate crimes, greater support for LGBTQ+ rights, and educational programs to combat ignorance. Her death, while devastating, sparked a wave of activism that aimed to prevent similar tragedies. Meanwhile, conversations about the responsibility of individuals in confronting prejudice became louder. Could one person speaking out have changed the course of events? Could the neighbor who overheard a hateful comment have intervened? As Laura's story continues to be shared, it challenges each of us to consider our own role in shaping a more inclusive world. Will we step up when we see hatred festering, or will we remain silent until it's too late? The answer to that question may determine whether tragedies like this become a distant memory or a recurring nightmare. As the sun sets over Cedar Glen, the once vibrant storefront of Mag Pie stands as both a monument to bravery and a reminder of the devastating cost of hatred. Laura Ann Carleton's story is not just about one tragic event. It's about the courage to stand up for what's right, even when the world pushes back. Her life, her values, and her unrelenting kindness call on us to reflect. What are we doing to foster love in a world so often divided by hate? Are we challenging prejudice when we see it? Are we amplifying the voices of those fighting for equality? At True Crime Acts, we strive to shed light on stories that need to be told. If Laura's story moved you, if it made you think, and if it ignited a desire to act, we urge you to carry her legacy forward. Share her story, speak out against hate, become an ally to those who need it most. Please like, subscribe, and click the notification bell to stay connected as we continue to explore the stories that challenge us to be better, to love harder, and to stand stronger against hate. Together, we can ensure that Laura's bravery inspires change, and her light continues to shine in a world that desperately needs it.